morning, everyone. There's two of us presenting for you today. My name is Cheri Rossi, and I'm an academic advisor in the School of Nursing here at SUNY Delhi.
And my name is Nancy Willow. I am also an academic advisor in the School of Nursing.
And as Michelle introduced our session, we are going to be presenting on how we in the School of Nursing Advising use Moodle for academic advising to provide the same services on-ground students receive to our remote online students.
And just a quick note, this is a new format for all of us. So if you have questions along the way, please feel free to type them in the chat box, and we'll try to keep an eye on that and answer your questions as you go along. We'll also try and save some time for questions at the end. So.
Great. So quick program overview for those of you who are unfamiliar with our program or are not here at Delhi. Delhi is primarily a two-year college. We have a growing number of baccalaureate programs. Our current enrollment university-wide is 3,100. It's a traditional brick-and-mortar campus in the Catskill Mountain area of New York. The ADN program, which is the Associate Degree in Nursing program, has always been an anchor program of the college. So when the college decided to go online with a bachelor's degree, a BSN or Bachelor of Science in Nursing was a natural extension for this growth. Therefore, the program was launched, and the RN to BSN program was the first fully online program at SUNY Delhi and was among the first in the SUNY system. When we launched the program in January 2008, we started with 40 students. Today, 7 years later, we have an enrollment of 800 students in the program, all of whom are licensed, working, registered nurses with their completed ADN, and they come here to complete their Bachelor of Science in Nursing. So their junior and senior years is what they're completing with us to achieve their bachelor. Our advisement model is a centralized model. We have 4 full-time advisors, all of whom are, well, 3 of whom are remote. One is in Delhi on campus, part-time and part-time at home, working remotely. We have our sessions are set up as 2 7-week sessions each semester. So each spring semester, we have 2 7-week sessions with a week in between, same for the fall. And our program accreditation comes from ACEN, the Accreditation Commission for the Education in Nursing, which we obtained in 2010. And in about 3 weeks, we're going up again for it for 2015 for another round. All right, so why use Moodle in advising? Well, one thing is online students spend most of their time in Moodle. So students and staff already have access to it and know how to use it. So what we realized in our advising group is we needed a way for our online remote students to access specific advising related information anytime they need it, almost self-service, 24/7, sort of a repository of information. And so it naturally made sense to create a site in Moodle that resembled the existing classrooms we use and the format, so it was familiar to set up this information. Even though it's not a traditional classroom, it resembles one, and then they can find the information they need. So this advising classroom or site, if you will, follows the format of our online courses, and it can be accessed from each course. We make sure that the information in there is updated on a regular basis because we want the students to keep using it and trust that the information is up to date. So in a few minutes, Nancy is going to give you a tour of this site. What we've done with this site is we've created it so it has self-service options for the student to obtain their information that they're looking for and interactive options. And you'll see that shortly. Allows students to access information at any time, like I said. And what this site does is it helps us to execute large-scale processes. such as managing advising appointments that all 4 of us have to hold with our advisees, degree planning functions, registration functions, and graduation functions, among other things. Those are some of the biggies. One of the functions we really rely on is an announcement function. Just like an instructor would send announcements in an online classroom, we send announcements from the advising team that are copied to all students' Delhi email address. And that way we can communicate advising related matters to them and ensure that they receive it, because they can either see it in their email or they can come into the site, into the announcements area, and read all of the announcements we've sent. And this allows us to have less reliance on email that may not deliver correctly, or the student may not check their email. We can then have 2 ways for them to obtain the information. And lastly, this site gives us the ability to extract data for planning purposes that Nancy's going to show you in the tour here.
All right, sounds great. So just bring up Venko Hall. This is the landing screen. So when students first sign in to Moodle, which we've named at Delhi Venko Hall, this is where they start. And for BSN students, if they click on the nursing tab here and scroll down to BSN student resources, we've created a page in the School of Nursing that has everything a student might need throughout the program. So we start off with our mission, philosophy. There's a student forum here where students can communicate. BSN Advisement, this is our section, which I'll show you. We also have a practicum component, so we have some practicum information online, and then just some general student support and resources. So let's click on the BSN Advisement site to get started. And once students are enrolled in the program, as soon as they're accepted and we start to schedule new students, we enroll them in this course. So unlike a regular course where a student would register for a semester and it would automatically load them into a course for Moodle, we actually manually enter students into this course when they are first registered for courses. So students would come here, they land on the welcome screen. This tells a little bit about the program, our mission, our philosophy, and then students can come down here and click on their advisor and get a little bit of information about who their advisor is, a little picture, a little bio. So then just coming back to the welcome screen, this is also where students can find the advising announcements. So here you can see just a couple of examples. We send out a survey every semester, which Cheri will be talking about a little bit later. And so you can see we've reminded students to fill out their survey, registration reminders. So these are just the type of advising announcements that we send out. And then students can come back here if they have misplaced their email about whatever we announced, or just need a general refresher. These announcements are always here. And then we've divided the rest of the site up into tabs. And I'll go through a couple of the tabs just so you get a sense of what things look like. One of the interactive options that we have for students is that they can actually make an appointment with their advisor. So come down here, I'll click on my appointments for now. I just added a bunch of appointments for spring. So a student could say, oh, well, I'm free at this time. Come down and save my choice. And that would, save their appointment. Now, because I'm logged in as an instructor right now and not a student, I also have the option to come over here, just so you see the back end, and look at my appointments and see who is signed up for these appointments. And then I can call the students at the appropriate time. The schedule changes in calendar page is just that. Oh, and just to go back here for a second, the thing that the component that we've used for this is called the choice selection. So, if you're in Moodle and you're using different functions, this is the choice function. Schedule changes in calendar. This is just basic information about how to add a course, how to drop a course. We also have the session schedule listed for students. And then the registration and degree plans tab, this is really the heart of the site. This is probably where students spend the most time, and also we as advisors spend the most time looking over students' degree plans. And I'm going to show you the degree plan in a second, but basically what it is a listing of all of the required courses for the program, and then students have the option to choose from drop-down menus when they plan to take each course. So really it's a planning document between the student and the advisor. So in this particular tab, there's information about registration. There's a quick little YouTube video here about how to create and edit a degree plan. And so that's what we're going to do right now. I'm just going to switch my role to student so that you see what the student sees. And then I'll switch it back to instructor so that you can see what we see on the back end. All right, so we'll do a degree plan here. So they come in, and the first thing that they would do is add an entry. And this is the database function that Michelle had referenced earlier that we're using for this particular feature. So we type in our advisor's name, and then you can see here we've listed all of the required courses for the program, as well as the course prerequisites over here. And then what we ask students to do is to go ahead and fill in the courses that they're currently taking. So again, like Cheri mentioned, we have Spring J in the first half, Spring K in the second half. So two sessions per semester. It also gives students the option to choose transfer. So perhaps they transferred this course in from Morrisville State College. And I can leave a little comment here about the particular course. And then we'll choose one more course for the second half of spring in progress. So this would be what the student initially fills out. They would come down here and click on Save and View. And as soon as they save their plan, their advisor can also see the plan. And then they get a nice, neat sort of overview of you know, the program requirements, when they plan to take each course, comments, and then when they complete the course, they can enter the grade. There's also a comment section at the very bottom of the degree plan, and this is where we as advisors can type comments. Every semester they have to get their degree plan approved before they register. So, you know, we could say approved for 2015, save the comment, and then the next time the student logs into their plan, they would see this comment, and then they could also type back and forth to us here if they need to. So that's the student view, but I want to just switch back to a staff instructor view so that you can see the back end, what we see when we log in. It takes a second to load here. So anyone who's ever created a degree plan in the BSN Advisement site will be listed here. And it can look a little bit overwhelming at first, but this is a little handy dandy feature here. You can sort by time added or time modified. If you know the student that you're looking for, you can just put in a search. Let's go to the last page here. I was the last one to add a degree plan. So, you know, I could take a look at that plan. And again, so the advisor would see the same thing that that student just input into their degree plan. So it's a really handy feature. And also on the back end, Cheri had talked about data and being able to you know, really use this tool for planning purposes. By clicking on the export option here, we can actually load all of this data into an Excel worksheet and then do a little bit of fun sorting magic. And we can see how many students are planning to take which class in which session. So for example, in a couple of weeks, we'll start planning for summer and fall. we'll ask students to come update their degree plans with the courses that they plan to take. And then once they do that, we can run this little export and plan for the number of sections that we'll need for each class in the upcoming sessions. So that's really very handy. And then otherwise, within the site, you can see other tabs. We talk about general education, academic progress policies, honors program, textbook, graduation. And these are just sort of helpful pieces of information for students to have. We also have this miscellaneous resources tab for staff, where we keep some important documents that we all want to be able to have access to. But you'll see, when I switch back to students don't see that. So we've hidden that tab from students. So again, this has certainly been a work in progress. We've had this particular site for about 4 years now, and keep growing and keep getting feedback from students about what's working, what's not working. And so at this point, unless there are any questions, I want to turn it back over to Cheri, who's going to talk about some of our survey data and the feedback from students about this particular site.
All right, thanks, Nancy.
Sure.
So as Nancy said, we do survey our student body to ensure that the academic advising functions we are providing are meeting the needs of our students. So at the end of each semester, so end of
we have a quick question.
Sure.
Sorry, you'll come over this week.
Hey, it's Jeff Stedman. How are you?
Hey, Jeff.
Question about the coursework that's inputted. Do you have to do that manually, or did that pull over from one of our systems?
Oh, so do you mean is the degree plan tied in with Banner or anything like that?
Yes.
It is not tied in. So this is just a planning tool for students. So they are the ones who go in and update their plan and let us know which classes they plan to register for, but it's not tied into Banner.
Okay. And so you inputted just all the coursework that's required, and then they pick and choose.
Right. So that first database, the blank database that you first saw, we set that up initially, but that was a one-time setup. And then students input their own coursework from there.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, thanks.
Any other questions? Was that it, Michelle?
That was it.
Okay, great. So, so at the end of the fall and at the end of the spring semesters, we will send an advising survey to our online BSN students, surveying them on various aspects of our advising function. It's primarily a satisfaction survey that focuses on the quality of the advisement, the process, the access to the resources, etc. So we set up this, to give you a little context, we set up our advising site in Moodle in the fall of 2010. So after the fall semester of 2010 and spring of 2011, we said, okay, let's add the BSN advisement site to our advising survey and see what's what and how it's being received from by the students. So at that time, 99% of the survey respondents said they had accessed the BSN advisement site, and 97% of the respondents had submitted their degree plan through the site. So that was encouraging to us because that told us they're using the site in a way that we intended to obtain information and drive traffic to it. 97% of the respondents had used the site to make advising appointments with us. Prior to that time, it was done over email, which, as you can imagine, was cumbersome. So this really helped streamline the appointment making process for everyone. And 86% of those respondents had reviewed key dates. So if you remember in the tour, there was our academic calendar for the program because we run on a different cycle than the university. So they accessed those dates, and 88% of the respondents had reviewed any of the other information that you saw in the site. So then, after a little while, we said, okay, that's great. We know they're accessing it, but how much are they accessing it? Is it just one time because we tell them they have to, or are they actually using the site on a regular basis? So we started adjusting our survey questions, and in the fall of 2012, and that's the current survey that we're still using, with a tweak here and there. But as far as the advisement site is concerned, we have now learned that approximately 85% of the respondents reported accessing the site at least once per session, which is twice per semester because of our 2 sessions. So before, we knew that they just were accessing it. We didn't know how often or what. Now we know at least once per session, with approximately 35% of those students accessing the site 3 or more times per session, so 6 times per semester, which was music to our ears because that means they are self-serving, obtaining the information the way we want them to. So after a while, we said, all right, we've had this site up for 4 years now. We look at it every day, and you know how it is when you look at something all the time, you don't necessarily see certain things that need to be changed. So we said, let's get a focus group together of students to review our site and give us some feedback now, 4 years later. So we chose a group of students at varying stages of completion. We had new students, middle of the road students, and about to graduate students. So they had varying levels of information on the program and varying levels of skill and knowledge of the site. We asked them about the usability, the clarity of the information, organization of the content from their perspective. Was it easy to find what they needed, or was it cumbersome? Based on the feedback we received, overall, it was generally very good. It was still presenting the information in a usable way that was well received by the students. There were some suggestions for feedback, so we did implement some of those changes based on the feedback, but they weren't big, overwhelming changes. They were maybe adjusting the clarity of the way something's explained. It wasn't anything that required a big overhaul. So that was really encouraging for us. The anecdotal or the qualitative, feedback that we received really helped us a lot as well. I won't read all these to you, but the one that really stood out for us was the second one. I think this is a well-designed and maintained site. Maintenance is really important. All of the dates are current and the links work. The site puts critical information together in one place and is user-friendly. And that was really important for us to hear, because we really do make a lot of efforts and pride ourselves on ensuring that the site is current, everything works, everything is up to date. As Nancy mentioned, we're in there probably monthly doing this, doing something to the site, making sure things are updated, because if it's not, all we need is a student to go in there 1 or 2 times, find things that don't work or that's not current, and they'll stop using it. So it's imperative to keep it current. All right, with that, Nancy's going to talk about some best practices of using these sets.
So, these are some of the things that after 4 years we've taken away in terms of, if someone is interested in pursuing using Moodle in advising, these are some things that we would definitely suggest and that we found helpful for us. And the first thing seems obvious, but really it's inform students of the site. If students don't know it's there, they're not going to use it. And some of the ways that we inform students of the BSN advisement site via phone. We all make welcome phone calls to our students a couple of weeks before their first class. And this is one of the times that we can talk to them about the site and the resources that are available. We also send a welcome email to our students once they're registered for classes. So again, this is a great way to just link the site right there so that students just have to click on it and they can take a look and see what resources are available. And then other ways that we inform students of the site are through the actual courses themselves. We mentioned earlier that there's a link to the BSN Advisement site in every course in the program, but we also use the first course, which is an orientation course, to drive students to the site. So for example, one of the assignments in their first course is that students have to go to the BSN Advisement site and make an appointment with their advisor. So again, we just really try to drive traffic to the site and make sure students are informed of the information that's available there. The second bullet, mobile site, we continue to try and work on making our site more mobile friendly, mobile ready. Increasingly, students are accessing information on their smartphones and on their tablets, and we want to make sure that we stay current with this technology so that students are able to access the information using whatever device that they choose. Again, we mentioned this earlier, use the same format as online courses. I think it's really important that students see consistency across the program. So what we've tried to do is in the BSN student resources site, that big site that we signed into initially, that looks the same as the BSN Advisement site, which looks the same as the practicum site, which also looks the same as the online courses that they're actually taking. So there's consistency across the board. Students are familiar with the course format, what it looks like, and this just makes it easier for students. Give students a reason to use the advisement site. One of the big reasons that we drive students to the site is that they have to fill out their degree plan there in order to register. So, you know, we make them use the advisement site, and we hope that once they're there and in the degree planning process, they'll also take a look at some of the other information on the other tabs. Other reasons to use the advisement site, signing up for an appointment with an advisor. We talked about registration, talked about incorporating some of these functions into the orientation course. So really just continuing to drive students to the site. Copy of announcements sent to the students' college email. This is automatic for us, but if people are looking to use Moodle to within the advisement function, definitely this is a key component for us, is that we don't have to rely on distribution lists or outdated copies of emails that we're not sure who's still in the program, who's not in the program. This is very easy. If they're in the program, they're in the BSN advisement site. We send an announcement, it goes to everybody. Cheri hit on this earlier. Make sure that you regularly update the site, check the information, every semester at least. Like Cheri said, we're in there all the time, making sure that the information is up to date. And then finally, have strong IT department support with a shared vision outside of just classroom development. We've been really fortunate to work with some outstanding instructional designers who understand that this is different than a regular classroom environment. We might be using some of the same components like the choice function or the database function, but we're using them in completely different ways. And the enrollment process itself is also different than a regular class. So really, getting a team together that has a shared vision for what you want to do is really important. And we've had, great folks to work with here at Delhi, so we feel really fortunate about that. All right, so just to wrap it up, one of the results that we're really happy about with our BSN advisement site is that 80% of our students are self-registered 30 days after registration opens. So this is a continuing goal for us. The past, I think, 4 or 5 semesters, we've kept track of this, and our goal has been that 75% of students are registered, and this past fall we hit the 80% mark. So we're really happy about that. But we attribute much of this success to the BSN Advisement site. With 4 advisors and 800 students, we're reviewing, at least 200 degree plans and helping 200 students each register for classes. And so to make this efficient and to make it work for everyone, we really think that the BSN Advisement site through Moodle has helped us meet this 80% goal. Second statistic there, 95% of our survey respondents report being satisfied or highly satisfied with the program's advising process. So again, Cheri and I work with a great team of advisors. We're just half of the team. There are 2 other advisors in the program, and so we feel fortunate to have a good advising team, but we also think that the BSN Advisement site in Moodle is a big part of student success with the advisement that they receive. And finally, last year, US News and World Report named the RN to BSN program at SUNY Delhi the best online bachelor's degree program in the nation. Again, we have fantastic faculty, staff, strong leadership, so this is a big team effort. We like to think that the BSN Advisement site is a small part of this success as well. So with that, we'll wrap it up and just ask for any questions that you might have.
There's no questions in here, but I see one in the chat box.
Okay, I can just go ahead and read that. Oh, Cheri, maybe you already answered it.
I was typing it right as you said it.
Okay, so the question was from Tracy, and she says, Nancy and Cheri, I'm very interested in building such a hospitality online degree advisement site. Who specifically in our tech department should we be working with to build such a site? And Cheri recommended to start with John Horner. And so really, we've had, again, like I said, we've had wonderful relationships with a lot of people in the computer information area. So,
any other questions?
Okay, sounds great. Well, thank you very much. Appreciate your time, and please feel free to follow up with either one of us if you have questions afterward.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
We have it screencasted, so we'll send you the link to that when we have that made, probably next week sometime.
Sure.
Okay.
Thanks so much for presenting today.
Oh yeah, thank you.
You bet. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.